Barnaby, my best friend. Barnaby sat propped against the pillows, his button eyes gleaming in the afternoon sun. Lily hummed, carefully arranging a fleet of toy sailboats around him on the floral bedspread. "Okay, Barnaby," she announced, her voice a bright melody, "Operation Sail Away is a go." She pushed a small, blue sailboat forward, its plastic sail billowing in the breeze from her open window. "This is the Courageous Carrot, Barnaby. Captained by Captain Snuggles." She giggled, then deepened her voice. "Ahoy there, Admiral Barnaby. We're heading for Treasure Island. Wish us luck." Barnaby, of course, offered no audible reply, but Lily knew, just knew, that he was wishing them well. She continued the game, narrating daring rescues from Rogue Bath Toys, a rubber ducky with a particularly menacing squeak, and narrowly avoiding the dreaded dust bunny sea monster lurking under the bed. Her room was her kingdom, and Barnaby, her most loyal subject. Sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like tiny, shimmering fairies. Lily's drawings, a chaotic explosion of color, adorned the walls. Dragons battled unicorns, princesses rode on the backs of giant butterflies, and a smiling sun beamed down on it all. Each picture held a story, a whispered secret shared only with Barnaby. Later, as twilight painted the sky in hues of lavender and rose, Lily sat cross-legged on her bed, a well-worn sketchbook in her lap. Barnaby, as always, was close by, leaning against her leg. "This is my drawing of Mr. Henderson's garden," she said, pointing with a crayon at a vibrant explosion of flowers. "He has the prettiest roses, Barnaby. All different colors. He lets me help him water them sometimes." She paused, chewing on her lip. "He says they remind him of his wife. She loved roses, too." She flipped to another page, a drawing of a stick figure waving from a distant ship. "And this is Daddy," she said softly, her voice losing some of its usual exuberance. "He's on a big boat, remember? He's going to be back soon, though. He promised." A wave of loneliness washed over her, a familiar ache in her chest. She missed his booming laugh, the way he tucked her in at night, the silly stories he told. Barnaby, sensing her mood, seemed to press closer. "It's okay, Barnaby," she whispered, stroking his soft, worn fur. "I know he'll be back. He always comes back." She closed her sketchbook, a sigh escaping her lips. It wasn't the same with just Mom around, as great as she was. Dad was always up for adventure, just like her. As bedtime approached, Lily performed her nightly ritual. She brushed her teeth with extra vigor, making silly faces at herself in the mirror. Then, clad in her favorite pajamas adorned with tiny stars, she climbed into bed, pulling the covers up to her chin. Barnaby was carefully positioned beside her, his head resting on the pillow. "Tonight," she confided, her voice barely a whisper, "I'm really worried about Mr. Peterson." Mr. Peterson was a kind old man who lived down the street. He always wore a tattered coat and carried a small, worn suitcase. Lily often saw him sitting on a bench in the park, looking lost and lonely. "He doesn't have a home, Barnaby," she explained. "And it's getting so cold. I saw him shivering yesterday." She paused, her brow furrowed. "I wish I could help him." She hugged Barnaby tightly, burying her face in his soft fur. His silent presence was a comfort, a reassurance that she wasn't alone in her worry. "Mommy says we can't just bring strangers home," she continued, her voice muffled. "But I wish there was something we could do." She lay in silence for a moment, the only sound the gentle ticking of the clock on her nightstand. Then, she sat up, a sudden idea sparking in her eyes. "Barnaby," she whispered, her voice filled with excitement, "I have an idea. A really, really good idea." She glanced at the closed door, then back at Barnaby. "But it's a secret, okay? A big secret. Just between you and me." She snuggled back down under the covers, Barnaby nestled securely in her arms. The idea swirled in her mind, a mixture of excitement and trepidation. It was a crazy idea, she knew, a daring idea. But it was the only way she could think of to help Mr. Peterson. As sleep began to claim her, she whispered one last thing to Barnaby. "Tomorrow," she murmured, her voice heavy with sleep, "tomorrow, we're going to do something amazing." But sleep did not come easy that night. Lily tossed and turned. The plan she'd come up with felt too risky to execute, but not doing anything would feel worse. She thought of her dad, out there on his ship, and how much she missed him, and she thought of Mr. Peterson, out there on the streets all alone. What would her dad do? She squeezed Barnaby tightly. He didn't judge her or ask her questions. He just listened. Finally, she drifted off to sleep, her dreams filled with images of sailing ships, lonely old men, and a brave little girl with a teddy bear by her side. A cold morning in the park. The air bit at Lily's cheeks, painting them a rosy hue as she skipped ahead of her mother on the path. It was a coat and mittens kind of morning, the kind where breath puffed out in miniature white clouds. The park, usually bustling with dog walkers and chattering children, was hushed and still, the grass frosted with a delicate silver sheen. Bare branches clawed at the pale sky, and the swings hung motionless in the playground. Mrs. Davis, bundled in her own thick scarf, watched Lily with a fond smile. "Careful, sweetie, it might be icy in spots." Lily, ever the explorer, was already peering into a frozen puddle, her breath misting the surface. "Look, Mama. It's like a sparkly mirror." They continued their walk, crunching on fallen leaves that had escaped the groundskeeper's rake. The air smelled of damp earth and wood smoke, a comforting scent that usually lifted Lily's spirits. But today, a little shadow lingered in her eyes. As they rounded a bend in the path, Lily stopped. Sitting on one of the park benches, hunched against the cold, was Mr. Thompson. He looked even smaller than usual, his tattered coat pulled tight, his gaze fixed on the ground. The scarf Lily had seen him wearing was gone. Lily tugged on her mother's sleeve. "Mama, look." Mrs. Davis followed her gaze, her expression softening. She knew Mr. Thompson. They'd exchanged polite nods a few times. She also knew the stories that swirled around him, whispers of lost jobs and bad luck. Mr. Thompson didn't seem to notice them. He was utterly still, a statue carved from sorrow. The only movement was the occasional tremor that ran through his frame. Lily shivered, but not entirely from the cold. It was something deeper, a visceral understanding of Mr. Thompson's isolation. It felt like the loneliness she felt sometimes, when she thought about her dad and the empty space he left behind, only amplified 1,000 times. "He looks sad," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. Mrs. Davis squeezed her hand. "He does, doesn't he?" She hesitated, then started to guide Lily forward. "Come on, honey, let's keep walking." But Lily planted her feet, stubbornly refusing to budge. "But Mama, he's cold." "I know, baby. But we can't." Mrs. Davis stopped, searching for the right words. She wanted to protect Lily, to shield her from the harsh realities of the world, but she also wanted to nurture her compassion. "Can't we help him?" Lily's eyes were wide, pleading. She thought of Barnaby, warm and safe in her room, and the contrast was unbearable. Mrs. Davis sighed, her breath clouding the air. "Lily, we've talked about this. We can't just," she trailed off, her voice laced with frustration. She knew Lily's heart was in the right place, but her own resources were stretched thin. She was doing her best, working long hours to provide for them both. Mr. Thompson finally looked up, startled by their presence. His eyes, normally distant, flickered with a brief spark of awareness. He offered a weak, almost apologetic smile. "Morning," he mumbled, his voice raspy. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Mrs. Davis replied, her tone warm and gentle. It's a chilly one today. He nodded slowly, then looked back down at his hands, clasped tightly in his lap. The spark in his eyes faded, leaving them dull and lifeless once more. Lily watched him, her heart aching. She wanted to offer him her mittens, her scarf, anything to ease his discomfort. But she knew her mother wouldn't approve. And besides, it wouldn't be enough. Mrs. Davis, sensing Lily's distress, knelt down beside her. "Lily-bug, I know you want to help. And it's wonderful that you care so much. But sometimes, helping isn't as simple as it seems." She spoke softly, her gaze unwavering. "We need to be careful, okay?" Lily nodded, her lower lip trembling slightly. She understood what her mother was saying. She just didn't like it. Mrs. Davis stood up, offering Lily her hand. "Come on. Let's go get some hot chocolate. That will warm us up." As they walked away, Lily glanced back at Mr. Thompson. He was still sitting on the bench, alone and forgotten. The image burned itself into her mind, a stark reminder of the injustice she couldn't ignore. The secret plan she had been hatching for Mr. Peterson now expanded, encompassing Mr. Thompson as well. It would be more difficult, perhaps even impossible, but Lily was determined. She had Barnaby, her unwavering confidant, and a heart full of compassion. That had to count for something. The thought. Lily perched on the bed's edge, the floral quilt rumpling under her fidgeting fingers. Afternoon light sliced through the window, striping the time-worn floorboards and illuminating dust motes pirouetting in the sunbeams. She squeezed Barnaby, his button eyes seeming ready to pop. An internal struggle, not a boisterous clash, but a quiet, insistent push and pull racked her. Her heart murmured of empathy, of offering solace to loneliness. Her head, conversely, shrieked of deprivation, of a future devoid of Barnaby's steadfast presence. Barnaby, ever the stoic confidant, offered neither instruction nor judgment. He simply was, a comforting weight nestled in her arms, silently absorbing the pressure of her embrace. His frayed edges, the faded cerulean of his once vibrant overalls, the gentle give of his stuffing, each nuance was etched in her memory, a familiar landmark on her personal map. She recalled the day he joined her life. Her 4th birthday, a kaleidoscope of frosted cake, bobbing balloons, and the gleeful cries of playmates. Yet, the most vivid recollection was Barnaby, emerging from a nest of shimmering tissue, his button eyes twinkling under the festive lights. Larger than imagined, almost her own size, she'd hugged him with such force she nearly tumbled over. He'd been her confidant, her partner in shenanigans, her silent, ever-present witness. He'd sat beside her during countless pretend tea parties, patiently enduring miniature hats and sticky pastries. He'd faced down imaginary monsters lurking beneath the bed, his stitched smile unwavering, a bastion of comfort in the inky blackness. He'd accompanied her on fantastical voyages to mythical realms, riding astride winged griffins and sailing in blanket ships. Lily closed her eyes, memories flooding back in a wave. She could almost feel the coarse wool of his overalls grazing her cheek, inhale the delicate, soothing aroma of lavender from the sachets her grandmother used to tuck inside. The image of Mr. Thompson, slumped on that park bench, his face a landscape of solitude, intruded. She envisioned him there, the wind clawing through skeletal tree branches, the cold leaching into his very bones. She imagined him drawing Barnaby close, finding a modicum of warmth and companionship in the bear's familiar heft. Would Barnaby offer him comfort? Would he dispel the gloom that seemed to cling to Mr. Thompson like a shadow? Would he remind him that he was not entirely solitary in the world? Lily hugged Barnaby tighter, a fresh tide of inner conflict surging. It wasn't merely about relinquishing a toy. It was about surrendering a piece of her soul, a tangible embodiment of her childhood, her treasured recollections, her very essence. She imagined Mr. Thompson's surprise, the dawning gratitude that would light up his weary eyes. She pictured him stroking Barnaby's fur, perhaps even murmuring a soft word of appreciation. The image generated a gentle heat within her, a tiny spark in the darkness of her dilemma. But then, the opposing arguments crashed back. What if Mr. Thompson rejected Barnaby? What if he considered it a foolish gesture, a pathetic offering? What if Barnaby ended up discarded, neglected, relegated to gather dust in some desolate corner? The prospect was unbearable. She couldn't stand the thought of Barnaby being unloved, unwanted. He deserved to be cherished, to be held close, to be a source of solace. And wasn't that precisely what she desired for Mr. Thompson? The inner debate churned on, an endless cycle of sacrifice and reluctance. She cradled Barnaby closer, burying her face in his plush form. He smelled faintly of sunshine and aged paper, a scent that invariably evoked feelings of safety and affection. A tear trickled down her cheek, leaving a dark stain on Barnaby's fur. She brushed it away with her sleeve, feeling a sharp pang of guilt. It wasn't fair to burden him with her anxieties. He was just a bear, a silent, furry friend. But he was more than that, wasn't he? He was a symbol of affection, of reassurance, of unyielding devotion. And perhaps, just perhaps, those were qualities that Mr. Thompson needed even more. The consideration lingered, a fragile seedling rooted in the fertile ground of her compassion. It was a daunting thought, a frightening thought, yet also one imbued with hope. It spoke of the power of simple kindness, of the capacity to effect change, however insignificant, in someone else's existence. Lily drew a deep breath, her throat constricting. The battle wasn't resolved, not by any means. But for the first time, she detected a flicker of determination, a feeling that she might indeed be able to accomplish this, to make this offering, to relinquish the object she held most dear for the benefit of someone in greater need. A gift of warmth. Lily's heart thrummed a frantic tattoo against her ribs, a counterpoint to the park's hushed ambience. Each footfall seemed an effort, her sneakers whispering against the aged asphalt. The swing set offered a plaintive serenade on the breeze, echoing the butterflies swirling in her stomach. Barnaby, clutched close, radiated a surprising heat, a silent vote of confidence. Across the green, Mr. Thompson sat hunched on a bench, practically consumed by his voluminous coat. The sinking sun painted elongated, skeletal shadows that danced around him, draping him in shades of solitude and melancholy. A flurry of pigeons pecked at unseen treasures near his feet, their soft murmur a sharp contrast to the silence clinging to him like a shroud. Lily's throat constricted. This was the crucible. The instant she either retreated, overwhelmed by the fear of letting go, or advanced, offering a balm to another's loneliness. Her grip tightened on Barnaby's well-loved plush. Innumerable nights flashed before her, whispered confidences, tearful moments, joyous celebrations, all shared with this steadfast, quiet confidant. The thought of separation felt like self-amputation. But then she recalled Mr. Thompson's face, the deep furrows bracketing his eyes, the slumped posture, the palpable aura of isolation. The way his gaze followed the romping children, his expression wistful. And the nascent resolve within her solidified, eclipsing her fear. Inhaling deeply, Lily resumed her approach, her stride gaining conviction, her focus unwavering. The gap narrowed with each step, the swing set's lament fading into insignificance. Closer now, she discerned the intricate map of lines etched on his skin, each a testament to a life etched in time, a story yearning to be told. He remained oblivious, his gaze fixed on some distant point. Nearing the bench, Lily halted a few feet away, her pulse a frantic drumbeat. She adjusted Barnaby in her arms, his soft fur a comforting caress against her cheek. "Mr. Thompson," she ventured, her voice barely audible. He started, his head jerking up, surprise widening his eyes. For a heartbeat, he simply stared, his expression a blank canvas. Then, recognition flickered in his gaze. "Hello there," he rasped, his voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. Lily drew another long breath, attempting to subdue her racing heart. I wanted to give you something," she managed, her voice trembling slightly. She extended Barnaby The teddy bear seemed to look up at Mr. Thompson with his familiar, reassuring expression. Mr. Thompson's eyes widened further, traveling from Lily to the offered toy. He looked perplexed, almost incredulous. "For me?" he questioned, barely a breath. Lily nodded, her gaze locked on his. "Yes," she affirmed, her voice gaining steadiness. "He's Barnaby. He's very good company." A strange cocktail of emotions played across Mr. Thompson's features, surprise, confusion, and a flicker of something akin to hope. He hesitated, as if unwilling to accept the proffered gift. I can't," he demurred, shaking his head almost imperceptibly. He's your bear." "I know," Lily responded, her voice resolute. "But I think he'd be happier with you. He can keep you warm and help you not feel so alone." Tears pricked at Lily's eyes, blurring her vision. She remembered countless hours spent with Barnaby, the comfort and joy he had given her. But she knew, with unwavering certainty, that she was acting rightly. Mr. Thompson's expression softened, his gaze meeting hers. He seemed to see something in her, an unwavering sincerity, an act of unselfishness. Slowly, tentatively, he reached out a gnarled hand and gently accepted Barnaby. His fingers brushed hers, sending a fleeting shiver down her spine. He cradled the teddy bear gently, as if it were a fragile thing. He looked at Barnaby's button eyes, his worn fur, his slightly crooked grin. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Thank you," he breathed, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you, this means more than you know." Lily's tears finally escaped, tracing glistening paths down her cheeks. But they weren't solely tears of sorrow. They were tears of relief, of pride, of the profound satisfaction of making a difference, however small. "You're welcome, Mr. Thompson," she whispered, her voice choked. I hope Barnaby makes you happy." Turning, she walked away, her steps lighter, her heart brimming with a peculiar blend of sadness and elation. She risked a glance back just before exiting the park. Mr. Thompson remained on the bench, Barnaby nestled securely in his arms, his head resting gently against the teddy bear's plush fur. He looked at peace. Lily smiled, a genuine smile that radiated from within. She knew she had acted rightly. Barnaby was where he belonged. Saying goodbye. A flicker of surprise, like a sunbeam piercing through storm clouds, brightened Mr. Thompson's usually listless eyes. He hesitated, almost as if Barnaby were a figment of his imagination. A weathered hand, skin etched with the roadmap of years, reached out and brushed the bear's well-loved fur. Lily held her breath, hope fluttering in her chest. "Are you certain, little one?" His voice, a rusty gate protesting disuse, barely carried. Lily's nod was small, her throat constricted. He enjoys tales," she rasped, emotion roughening her voice. "And he's a remarkable listener." A tentative smile, a fragile bloom after a long winter, unfurled on Mr. Thompson's face, easing the harsh angles carved by time and sorrow. Not a wide, exuberant grin, but a subtle upward curve that coaxed crinkles around his eyes, a landscape Lily had never before witnessed. It was a smile that seemed to dissolve the solitude that clung to him like morning mist. With infinite care, he accepted Barnaby from Lily's outstretched hands. Those work-worn fingers, calloused and strong, cradled the bear as if handling spun glass, something inherently precious. He drew Barnaby close, burying his face in the plush fur for a fleeting moment. Watching, Lily felt a painful knot tighten in her chest. "Thank you," he croaked, the word thick with suppressed feeling. "Little one, this means the world." Speechless, Lily could only nod again. A single tear escaped, carving a shining trail down her cheek. She swiped at it, not wanting to mar his newfound peace. Her desire was for his happiness, even if it left a raw space in her own heart. Mrs. Davis, a silent sentinel until now, laid a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder, a silent message of support. She had observed the exchange with a complex mix of concern and quiet understanding. While she knew Barnaby's significance, she also recognized the nascent connection blooming between her daughter and this solitary soul. "Come on, love," Mrs. Davis murmured. "Let's give Mr. Thompson some space to settle in." One final, lingering look at Barnaby, nestled securely in Mr. Thompson's arms, sent a jolt of longing through Lily. Memories flooded her, whispered bedtime stories, imaginative escapades, the countless times Barnaby had been her steadfast, silent confidant. Now, she imagined him listening patiently to Mr. Thompson's life story, offering comfort and companionship in his own quiet way, perhaps even a measure of solace. Turning away felt like severing a vital connection. Each step was an act of will, her legs heavy and unresponsive. An urge to reclaim Barnaby, to bury her face in his familiar fur, surged within her, but she resisted. A promise had been made, a commitment honored. As they retreated, Lily stole one last glance. Mr. Thompson was seated on the bench, Barnaby upright beside him, a silent, furry sentinel. His hand gently stroked Barnaby's fur, his gaze distant, lost in contemplation. For the first time since their acquaintance, he projected an aura of profound peace. Lily turned back to her mother, her eyes glistening. "Mommy, I already miss him," she whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. Enfolding her in a warm embrace, Mrs. Davis murmured, "I know, sweetheart. It's hard, but you performed an act of immense kindness, Lilybug. A truly brave one." They continued in silence, the only sound the crisp rustle of leaves underfoot. The air had grown crisper, the sun dipping lower, painting long, attenuated shadows across the park. Mrs. Davis grappled with her usual anxieties, financial worries, the pressure of single parenthood. The weight of responsibility felt like a permanent ache. Witnessing Lily's selfless gift, however, had kindled a spark of hope, a potent reminder of the transformative power of compassion, a beacon in her own personal storm. "He looked content, Mommy," Lily murmured, breaking the silence. "Mr. Thompson, he truly looked happy." Mrs. Davis squeezed her daughter's hand in acknowledgement. "He did, sweetie. He genuinely did. And that's entirely because of you." Lily sniffled, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. Sadness lingered as a dull throb, but it mingled with a novel sensation, a warm, incandescent glow. It was the satisfaction of having done something meaningful, of impacting another's life, however subtly. As they exited the park, Lily cast one final backward glance. Mr. Thompson remained on the bench, Barnaby at his side, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, a tableau of quiet companionship. A small, tentative smile touched Lily's lips. Parting had been painful, but seeing the transformation in Mr. Thompson's demeanor made the sacrifice worthwhile. The world seemed fractionally brighter, gentler, enriched by her actions. And that realization, in its own way, eased the ache in her heart. Sleepless night. The house slumbered, enveloped in the deep quiet unique to the late hours. Yet, within Lily's room, a silent struggle unfolded. She thrashed, the bed sheets coiling around her like tenacious ivy. Sleep, usually a comforting presence, remained elusive. The pillow felt like a sack of rocks, the blanket alternately insufficient and smothering. Every position amplified the absence beside her, Barnaby's usual spot. She squeezed her eyelids tight, attempting to summon his familiar aroma, lavender mingled with the faint, remembered scent of her own childhood, emanating from his fur. But even that solace felt faint, overshadowed by the day's events. Mr. Thompson surfaced in her mind, his face a map of weariness, the lines etched deep. She remembered the brief illumination in his gaze, a spark ignited when she'd offered Barnaby. A warmth had blossomed inside her then, brighter than anything she'd known. Now, swallowed by the dark, that warmth had dissipated, leaving a hollow ache. Was Barnaby keeping him shielded from the cold? The night possessed a keen edge, a frigid draft whistling through the window's imperfections. She pictured Mr. Thompson huddled on his park bench, the worn blanket a meager defense. Perhaps Barnaby offered some small comfort. Maybe he was a miniature, furry beacon, emitting kindness into the frigid air. She imagined him pressed against Mr. Thompson's chest, his button eyes fixed on the speckled canvas of the night sky. Was he afraid? Did he long for her? A new wave of grief crested, sharp and poignant. She pushed herself upright, drawing her knees toward her chin. Moonlight painted silver bars across the floor, highlighting the dance of dust motes. Everything seemed altered. The familiar toys lined up on her shelf appeared diminished, their colors muted. Even the luminous stars adhering to her ceiling shone with less intensity. Again, she pondered Mr. Thompson. Had Barnaby eased his suffering? Had he found some repose? She sincerely hoped so. She yearned for Barnaby to be a better companion than the silence and desolation that had clung to him, a constant shadow. She reclined, clutching the blanket close. The quietude pressed in on her, magnified by her whirling thoughts. She missed Barnaby's weight against her, the soothing texture of his fur against her skin. She yearned for the reassurance he'd always provided, a silent promise of things being all right. Closing her eyes, she tried to envision Barnaby cradled in Mr. Thompson's arms. She pictured him listening patiently as Mr. Thompson, perhaps, confided in him, sharing tales of days gone by, his aspirations, his regrets. Maybe Barnaby was a good confidant. He certainly had been for her. A tear slipped free, tracing a slow path down her cheek, soaking the pillow. Into the darkness, she whispered, her voice a mere breath, "Good night, Barnaby. Be brave. Be good. Protect him." She couldn't know if Barnaby could hear her, wherever he was. But with all her heart, she hoped he knew she was thinking of him. That he knew he wasn't forgotten. That her love for him endured. As dawn began to tint the horizon a faint gray, sleep finally descended. It was a fitful sleep, plagued by fragmented dreams of bears and park benches and lonely men with gentle eyes. But even in that troubled rest, a tiny seed of optimism persisted, a quiet certainty that she'd acted justly. That even though she ached for Barnaby's presence with every part of her, she had gifted him with a grander purpose. That somewhere, in the bitter, dark night, he was making a true difference. And that, she understood as sleep finally took her, was a treasure beyond measure. Missing Barnaby. The indentation on the bedspread where Barnaby usually sat seemed like a gaping hole in Lily's world. She traced its outline with her fingertip, the plush fabric offering no comfort, only a reminder of what was missing. The air around it felt thinner, colder. She pulled her knees to her chest, hugging them tight, trying to fill the emptiness that Barnaby had left behind. She glanced around her room, at the colorful array of toys scattered across the floor. Her dollhouse stood silent and still, its miniature inhabitants frozen in a perpetual tea party. Her collection of stuffed animals, a menagerie of plush creatures, watched her with unblinking button eyes. None of them could replace Barnaby. He wasn't just a toy, he was a confidant, a silent listener, a furry anchor in her often turbulent sea of emotions. She tried to play. She picked up Rosie, her favorite doll, dressed in a frilly pink dress. She attempted to stage a grand adventure, rescuing Rosie from a fearsome dragon represented by a green dinosaur with mismatched eyes. But the game felt flat, lifeless. Rosie's plastic smile seemed mocking, her painted eyes vacant. Lily couldn't summon the same enthusiasm, the same spark of imagination that Barnaby had always ignited. He would have been the perfect co-adventurer, the brave knight battling alongside Rosie, or even the dragon itself, growling playfully with his worn-out voice. She dropped Rosie back onto the floor, the doll landing with a soft thud. A sigh escaped her lips, a small puff of air that barely disturbed the stillness of the room. It wasn't just the playtime that was affected, it was everything. Meal times felt quieter, the vibrant colors of her food somehow muted. Even her favorite cartoons on television seemed less funny, the characters' exaggerated antics failing to elicit a giggle. Bedtime was the worst. The shadows in her room seemed deeper, more menacing, without Barnaby's reassuring presence. The faint creaks and groans of the old house sounded louder, amplified by her heightened awareness. She missed the familiar weight of him nestled beside her, the soft fur against her cheek, the comforting scent of lavender that clung to his well-worn body. She tossed and turned, unable to find a comfortable position, the sheets feeling scratchy and unfamiliar. Mrs. Davis found her staring at the ceiling, her eyes wide and unfocused. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hand gently stroking Lily's hair. "Missing Barnaby, sweetheart?" she asked softly, her voice filled with understanding. Lily nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "He's gone," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "He's not here anymore." Mrs. Davis pulled her into a warm embrace. "I know, honey. It's okay to miss him. He was very special." Lily clung to her mother, burying her face in her shoulder. The familiar scent of her perfume, a blend of vanilla and lavender, offered a small measure of comfort. Do you think he likes Mr. Thompson?" Lily asked, her voice muffled. Mrs. Davis held her tighter. "I know he does, Lily Bug. Barnaby is bringing Mr. Thompson so much comfort, just like he did for you. You gave him a wonderful gift, a gift of friendship and love." She paused, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "You know, Lily, what you did was incredibly brave and kind. It's not easy to give away something you love so much, even when you know it's the right thing to do. You have a very big heart, Lily. Bigger than anyone I know." Lily sniffled, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "But I miss him," she repeated, the words laced with a child's raw, unadulterated grief. "I know you do," Mrs. Davis said, kissing her forehead. "And it's okay to miss him. But remember why you gave him away. You helped someone who was lonely and sad. You made the world a little bit brighter." Mrs. Davis paused, her own anxieties about the world, about loneliness and hardship, momentarily eclipsed by the bright light of her daughter's compassion. She felt a surge of hope, a belief that even in the face of darkness, kindness could prevail. She gently guided Lily's head to rest on her chest, stroking her hair until her breathing evened out. "You are a very special girl, Lily," she whispered, her voice filled with love and pride. "And I am so proud to be your mother." As Lily drifted off to sleep, Mrs. Davis remained by her side, her gaze fixed on her daughter's peaceful face. She knew that the missing piece in Lily's heart would eventually heal, filled with the warmth of knowing she had made a difference in someone else's life. And perhaps, just perhaps, that knowledge would be a comfort in itself, a soft, furry reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can have a profound impact. Barnaby's new friend. Streaks of late-day sun fell across Mr. Thompson's armchair as he cradled Barnaby. The bear possessed a surprising heft, a comforting ballast against the tremor in his hands. His fingers, etched with time, traced the well-worn nap of Barnaby's fur, a faint upturn gracing his lips. An age had passed since he'd held such innocence. The chair groaned a weary song as he shifted. Usually, the silence within the small apartment felt like a palpable weight, crushing him. But now, Barnaby nestled close, it resonated differently. Not vanquished, but softened, like a dull ache soothed by gentle ointment. "Well now, little pal," he croaked, his voice rusty from disuse. "Lily called you Barnaby, didn't she?" A pause to heed the quiet, then a soft chuckle escaped him. "Foolish old codger, nattering to a teddy." "Still," he continued. He found himself recounting his day, or rather, the stark absence of it. The insipid soup, the televised drivel, the nagging throb in his knee that stole his sleep, he narrated it all in a hushed, rambling tone, as if fearful someone might overhear him confessing his solitude to a plush confidant. "Had a dog once," he murmured, stroking the bear's ear. "Buster, a mutt with a heart of gold. Loyal soul, he'd park himself right here, never a judgmental glance, always a wagging tail for yours truly. His voice faltered, and he averted his gaze, blinking rapidly. Lost him some years back. Toughest chapter in my life. A long silence ensued, punctuated only by the measured ticking of the hallway clock. The light waned, painting the room with elongated, dancing shadows. He returned his gaze to Barnaby, his button eyes gleaming faintly. Maybe you could be my buster for a spell, he breathed. Just till the sun shines a little brighter. He carefully propped Barnaby on the armrest, positioning him to watch the flickering screen. The following morning, Mr. Thompson awoke with an uncommon alertness. He'd enjoyed the most restful slumber in ages. The familiar ache in his knee persisted, yet it seemed less insistent, a dull hum instead of a strident cry. He glanced at the armrest. Barnaby remained, slouched slightly, his gaze fixed on some distant point. He shuffled to the kitchen, the steam from his tea bomb on his face. Returning to his armchair, he settled in, Barnaby his silent observer. "Morning, Barnaby," he greeted, sipping his tea. "Another day, another dime, or so they say." A sigh, then a chuckle. "Except there's no dime, and the working days are long gone." He unfurled the newspaper, his gaze sweeping the headlines. He read aloud to Barnaby, offering commentary on political woes and heartwarming tales alike. He even tackled the crossword, soliciting Barnaby's input. 7-letter word for joy, he mumbled, tapping the paper with his pen. Barnaby, of course, remained mute. Mr. Thompson smiled. "Perhaps you're right. Maybe it's a myth." As weeks bled into each other, Barnaby wove his way into the fabric of Mr. Thompson's existence. He was a constant companion during meals, perched on the table, presiding over the humble fare. He went on ambles to the corner store, nestled securely in the walker's basket. He even lent a patient ear as Mr. Thompson unfurled tales from his past, narratives of youthful escapades and loves that time had eroded. Mr. Thompson discovered himself taking better care of himself. He embraced regular meals, preparing simple dishes rather than subsisting on mere crackers. He even extended his daily excursions, venturing further into the neighborhood he'd long neglected. He detected a flicker of something dormant for years. Not precisely joy, but a close cousin. A sense of purpose rekindled. A reason to greet the morning. One afternoon, seated on a park bench, Barnaby propped beside him, a young couple strolled past, pushing a baby carriage. The woman offered Mr. Thompson a smile. "What a darling bear," she remarked. "My little one has a similar fellow." Mr. Thompson returned the smile, a genuine warmth lighting his eyes. "He's a good bear," he replied. "Keeps me from being lonely." As the couple departed, Mr. Thompson turned to Barnaby. He understood, of course, that Barnaby was but a stuffed toy. But he also recognized him as something far grander. He was an emblem of Lily's compassion, a tangible reminder that even amidst the bleakest landscapes, hope endures. And for Mr. Thompson, that flicker of hope proved sufficient. More than sufficient, in truth. It was a lifeline cast in his hour of need. A morning surprise. A subtle tick-tick-tick initiated the morning, a faint percussion against the dawn chorus. Still half asleep, Lily registered it as a stray thread in her dreamscape, an almost imperceptible nudge towards consciousness. She stirred, burrowing deeper, chasing the receding images. But the sound persisted, a light, rhythmic pulse on the windowpane. Finally, curiosity trumped sleep. She blinked, eyelids leaden, and levered herself upright. The room glowed softly in the nascent light. Rubbing the grit from her vision, she focused on the source, tap tap tap, an intriguing yet baffling signal. Cautiously, she swung her legs down, the floorboards a shock of coolness. Bare feet silent on the aged rug, she drifted towards the window, pausing with her hand poised at the curtain's edge. A nervous flutter, like trapped moths, stirred within her. What could possibly? One deep breath, and she swept the fabric aside. Her breath hitched. Suspended from an oak bough, swaying gently, was a birdhouse, but unlike any she'd seen. A jewel box of color and care. Azure, the shade of a serene summer sky, painted its walls. The roof boasted a crazy quilt of miniature shingles, ruby, emerald, saffron, and tangerine danced together. A diminutive porch, complete with a picket fence, offered a welcoming perch. Tiny, sculpted blossoms adorned the sides, adding a touch of whimsical elegance. The entry, a perfect circle, bespoke easy access for a feathered tenant. More than its beauty, Lily was stunned by its sudden appearance. It had materialized overnight, a vibrant anomaly against the leafy green. No sounds, no shadows, no indication of its arrival. As if conjured. Lily pressed her nose to the cool glass, eyes wide. She was utterly captivated. It was enchanting. A flick of movement snagged her attention. A robin, brick-red breast puffed out, landed tentatively on the tiny porch. Head cocked, bright eyes darting, it hopped inside. Lily gasped, a delighted sound escaping. Occupied already. She stood spellbound, watching the miniature dwelling and its new inhabitant. The tapping, she now understood, was the robin's soft investigation of its new abode. A wave of warmth bloomed within her, a feeling of pure, untainted joy. It was more than just a decorative object, it resonated with something profound, a spark of magic. Deep down, she felt it was a gift. But from whom? And why? Her thoughts raced, seeking a logical explanation. Her mother? Unlikely, without a word. Besides, craftsmanship wasn't her forte. Which left Mr. Thompson. The thought landed like a jolt. Could he possibly be responsible? Could he have conjured this elaborate creation and hoisted it into the tree? Implausible, yet, a nascent hope flickered. Perhaps, just perhaps, offering Barnaby had stirred something within him, a reawakened purpose, a yearning to create. The prospect filled her with a swell of happiness. If Mr. Thompson had indeed built it, it signaled progress. It meant Barnaby, her beloved bear, had brought him solace, maybe even joy. Regardless of the giver, the birdhouse felt symbolic, hope for Mr. Thompson, hope for herself, hope for what lay ahead. She continued to watch, a smile curving her lips. The robin reappeared, trilled a cheerful song, and vanished into the leafy canopy. Lily knew she had to discover the source of this unexpected treasure. But for now, she would simply bask in its beauty and the joy it sparked. A morning miracle, a moment she knew she'd always remember. The thank you note. A crisp morning air kissed Lily's cheeks as she peered through the window, Barnaby nestled securely in her embrace. The robin, a vibrant splash of color against the birdhouse's aged frame, tilted its head inquisitively, as if sensing her watchful gaze. The soft taps she dismissed as dreams were real. It was the robin, alighting with feather-light grace. An irresistible urge pulled her closer. Shedding her sleep, Lily's feet made barely a whisper on the floorboards as she hurried from bed. A hand-me-down sweater, generous in size, provided a cozy shield as she slipped outside, leaving shoes behind. The dewy grass offered an invigorating bite between her toes, contrasting sharply with the bed's lingering warmth. The birdhouse displayed even finer details at closer range. The wood, planed smooth, bore testament to careful hands, its roof angled to ward off the elements. Minute carvings, leaves and berries, a Lilliputian forest echoing their backyard trees, decorated its facade. Lily's fingers traced the artistry, recognizing the touch of a devoted craftsman. Then she noticed it. Tucked beneath the structure, secured by a humble piece of twine, a folded note awaited. Her pulse quickened. With barely controlled anticipation, she untied the string and unfolded the paper. The script, though wavering, was easily read. Lily, it began. I saw you give Barnaby. It was a very kind thing to do. Thank you. I wanted to give you something in return. This is for you, and for the birds. I hope you like it. Mr. Thompson. A wave of tenderness flooded through her, dispelling the morning chill. Mr. Thompson. He had created this. Just for her. Inspired by a simple kindness. Barnaby's quiet presence had seemingly unlocked something within the reserved, solitary man. She revisited the note, savoring each carefully chosen word. For you, and for the birds. A succinct sentiment, yet brimming with significance. It represented acknowledgement, a spark of connection, a hint of shared wonder. Lily's gaze rose to the birdhouse, now viewing it not merely as a crafted object, but as an emblem of hope, of connection forged, of kindness unexpectedly rippling outward. The robin, closer now, greeted her with a cheerful trill, a melody of affirmation. She pictured Mr. Thompson, alone in his dwelling, meticulously shaping each piece of wood, his thoughts centered on her, on Barnaby, on the desire to convey his appreciation. A knot tightened in her throat. Lily carefully tucked the note into her pocket. It would be a keepsake, treasured forever. More valuable than any toy, more precious than any gem. A concrete reminder that even the most modest act could create waves of profound meaning. She yearned to express her gratitude. But how? A mere "thank you" felt inadequate, unable to encompass the depth of her emotion. She needed to demonstrate the magnitude of the birdhouse's significance, of his heartfelt gesture. An idea blossomed. Lily dashed back inside, her mind racing with possibilities. She discovered her mother in the kitchen, softly humming as she prepared breakfast. "Mommy, Mommy!" Lily burst out, her voice brimming with excitement. "Mr. Thompson. He built the birdhouse. He left a note." Her mother's head turned, surprise giving way to a tender smile. "He did? That's lovely, Lily-bug." Lily produced the note from her pocket, placing it in her mother's hands. As her mother absorbed its contents, emotion played across her face. "Oh, Lily," she murmured, her voice catching. This is simply beautiful." "I want to thank him," Lily stated, her voice earnest. "But I don't know how." Her mother enfolded Lily in a loving embrace. "We'll devise something together, sweetheart. Something truly special." Lily nestled against her mother's shoulder, feeling a tranquility she hadn't known in quite some time. Barnaby, still cradled close, seemed to vibrate with contentment. The birdhouse, a silent beacon, stood sentinel outside, a testament to kindness, potency, and the unexpected bonds that could flourish in the most unlikely of places. The inviting scent of frying bacon mingled with the crispness of morning dew, creating a harmonious blend of simple pleasures. Lily knew, with unwavering faith, that this was only the beginning of something wonderful. Songs in the garden. Lily stirred awake to a sound entirely new. It wasn't the jarring clang of refuse collection or the incessant yap of Mrs. Henderson's poodle, but a melody woven from countless tiny, jubilant voices. She leaped from bed, clutching Barnaby, and stole to the window. Dawn gilded the garden, and the air pulsed with vitality. On Mr. Thompson's little birdhouse, 2 robins, chests puffed proudly, poured out their hearts in song. A lively scattering of other birds, sparrows, finches, even a flash of azure from a bluebird, danced among the branches, adding their cheerful trills to the burgeoning chorus. Lily inhaled sharply. The birdhouse. It worked. Mesmerized, she pressed her cheek against the cool pane. The robins took turns disappearing into the small structure, reappearing with slender twigs. They were crafting a nest, establishing a home, right there in her very own garden. A smile blossomed across Lily's face, almost too wide to contain. Barnaby, as if attuned to her delight, burrowed closer. The birdsong permeated the room, dispelling any lingering shadows of gloom. It was a vibrant, living testament, a symphony of gratitude performed just for her. Lost in the scene, what felt like hours drifted by. The birds, so consumed, so purposeful, seemed oblivious to her gaze, unconcerned by her presence. They simply lived, built, sang. Eventually, her mother summoned her for breakfast. With reluctance, Lily detached herself from the window, promising Barnaby a swift return. "What captivated you so long?" her mother inquired, setting down a stack of pancakes. Lily's eyes shone. "The birds are here, Mom. They're using the birdhouse. The air is thick with their songs." Her mother beamed. "That's lovely, Lilybug. Mr. Thompson will be thrilled." "I think they're happy too," Lily replied, gesturing toward the window where faint chirping lingered. "They're constructing a nest." Throughout breakfast, Lily peppered her mother with questions about her feathered guests. Their diet? Their roosting habits? The timeline for nest construction? Her mother responded patiently, her own face mirroring Lily's excitement. After breakfast, Lily dashed back to the garden, Barnaby bobbing along in tow. The birds remained, as industrious as before. She settled onto the grass, leaning against the rough bark of the ancient apple tree, and observed. The sun warmed her skin, the birds filled the air with music, and a profound sense of peace washed over her. She pondered Mr. Thompson. Could he hear their jubilant songs from his house? She hoped so. She hoped it brought him happiness. An idea sparked. She had gifted Mr. Thompson her beloved teddy bear, her most treasured possession. And in return, he'd given her this. Not merely a birdhouse, but an entire world of birdsong, of burgeoning life, of pure beauty. A world that had suffused her garden, and her spirit, with joy. She squeezed Barnaby tightly. Of course, she still missed him. There were moments when she yearned to hold him close at night, to confide her secrets into his plush fur. Yet, gazing at the birds, absorbing their melodies, a realization dawned. Giving wasn't synonymous with losing. Sometimes, it unlocked something even more extraordinary. She considered the thank you note she and her mother planned to write. It needed to be remarkable, to genuinely express their gratitude to Mr. Thompson. It had to possess the same beauty and significance as the birdhouse he'd bestowed upon them. An idea began to take shape. It was nascent, a small ember of inspiration. But as she sat there, enveloped by the bird's symphony, she knew it was perfect. It was something she could create, something she could offer, that would genuinely convey the depth of her appreciation. The birds continued their labors, unaware of the thoughts swirling within Lily's mind. They simply went about their lives, building their home, singing their songs. And in doing so, they were infusing Lily's garden, and her very being, with a melody that would resonate long after their departure. The garden had transformed into a sanctuary, a haven of healing and burgeoning hope. And it was all thanks to a humble birdhouse, a generous neighbor, and a young girl's willing heart. These songs weren't merely avian calls, they were anthems of kindness, ballads of friendship, preludes to new beginnings. Lily knew, with a certainty that radiated from within, that these were songs she would treasure indefinitely. An unlikely friendship. The thank you note felt insubstantial in Lily's palm, a fragile token meant to carry the weight of her immense gratitude. Words felt inadequate, yet she'd poured her heart into it, decorating the page with vibrant avian sketches and blossoming flora, all surrounding a carefully inscribed, "Thank you, Mr. Thompson." The park called to her, the same park where Barnaby had been gifted. Today, it felt infused with hope, mirroring the nascent life teeming within the birdhouse in her garden. Clutching the note, she skipped along the sidewalk, her pulse a frantic flutter akin to the tiny wings near her birdhouse. She spotted Mr. Thompson on their familiar bench, nestled beneath the sprawling oak tree, its leaves tinged with premature autumn hues. He was occupied with feeding the squirrels, dispensing peanuts from a crumpled paper bag. He glanced up, a delighted smile illuminating his features as she approached. "Lily. Good morning, he greeted, his voice noticeably clearer. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson." Lily chirped, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. She presented the note. "I made this for you." Mr. Thompson accepted it with delicate care, his eyes crinkling with amusement as he examined her artwork. A soft rumble of laughter emanated from him. "This is lovely, Lily. You have a real talent." His gaze met hers, radiating a newfound warmth. "Thank you, dear. I appreciate it greatly." Lily settled beside him, her feet swinging idly. "The birds adore the birdhouse. They're already building." Mr. Thompson nodded, a pensive expression clouding his face. "Just as I'd hoped." A comfortable quiet descended as they watched the squirrels cavort and the leaves twirl in the breeze. A serene feeling washed over Lily, a sensation absent since her father's departure. "Mr. Thompson," she began tentatively, do you ever get lonely?" He paused, considering her question with thoughtful deliberation. "At times, Lily. At times, yes." He sighed, a sound like wind whispering through brittle leaves. "Though less so lately." He offered a fleeting smile. "I was quite lonely for a while," Lily confessed, tracing patterns in the dirt with the toe of her shoe. "Especially after, well, you know." Mr. Thompson offered a knowing nod. "Losing someone cherished leaves a gaping void, doesn't it?" Lily agreed, fighting back a sudden surge of grief. Quickly changing tack, she said, "Could I show you more of my drawings?" "I brought my sketchbook." She retrieved the well-worn book from her pack, its pages alive with vibrant imaginings. Mr. Thompson leaned in, his eyes widening with genuine fascination as Lily presented her creations. He pointed to a rendering of a fantastical beast with wings and shimmering scales. "What is this?" "That's a sky dragon," Lily exclaimed, her voice effervescent. "It dwells among the clouds, shielding the world from despair." Mr. Thompson chuckled softly. "I believe we could all benefit from a sky dragon at the moment." They whiled away the next hour immersed in Lily's artistic realm, Mr. Thompson posing questions and offering perceptive observations. His authentic interest kindled a warmth within Lily, a profound sense of being seen and appreciated. As the sun ascended in the sky, Mr. Thompson began recounting tales from his own life. He spoke of his days as a carpenter, his hands gesturing as if shaping wood still. He painted vivid pictures of the homes he'd constructed, the deep satisfaction derived from crafting lasting beauty. He evoked the aroma of sawdust and the tactile sensation of smooth wood. "I built things for families, Lily," he related, his voice imbued with quiet pride. "I fashioned homes where memories would be made. That's what I found rewarding about it." He paused, a momentary sadness clouding his features. "I haven't done much building lately." "You built the birdhouse," Lily reminded. "And the birds are establishing a home." Mr. Thompson smiled, a heartfelt expression that reached his eyes. "Yes, I suppose I did." As Lily listened to Mr. Thompson's anecdotes, she understood that he was more than just a solitary man. He was a craftsman, a builder, a spinner of tales. His life was rich with experience, just like hers. And perhaps, she mused, she could aid him in rediscovering that vitality, just as he had helped her rediscover joy. Knowing lunchtime was near, Lily prepared to leave. "Thank you for sharing your stories, Mr. Thompson," she said sincerely. "I loved hearing them." He smiled gently. "Thank you for sharing your drawings, Lily. And thank you, for everything." Lily rose, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. "I'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Thompson." "I'll be here," he replied, his eyes twinkling with anticipation. As Lily departed, she glanced back at Mr. Thompson, who watched with a tender smile. A burgeoning certainty bloomed within her. This was the genesis of an unexpected connection, a bond born from sorrow and kindness, a friendship capable of breathing life back into them both. Kindness multiplied. Barnaby nestled in Lily's arms, his button eyes catching the honeyed light seeping through her window. Her fingers traced the threadbare patch on his paw, the familiar terrain of her teething days. Relinquishing him to Mr. Thompson had been a wrench. Yet, witnessing a glimmer of something besides despair flicker in the old man's gaze had soothed the ache. She recalled her card, crayon colors blurred where youthful enthusiasm had pressed too hard. Mr. Thompson had cradled it with reverence, as if it were a rare gem. He'd even secured it to his wall, sharing space with a time-worn photo of a woman whose eyes radiated kindness, her smile, warmth. Lily wondered if that was Mrs. Thompson. A comforting feeling bloomed within her, a sensation muted since her father's passing. It wasn't the boisterous elation of a new toy, but a serene contentment. It was the quiet joy of knowing her actions had illuminated another's world, if only a little. The following afternoon found Lily practically dancing towards Mr. Thompson's cottage, a small paper bag swinging from her hand. Inside rested peanut butter cookies, crafted that morning with her mother's help. The tempting aroma preceded her as she rapped on the door. Mr. Thompson greeted her with a smile that etched deeper lines around his eyes. "Lily. Do come in. I was just thinking of you." He ushered her into the sitting room, which felt somehow less stark. Perhaps it was just her perception, or maybe the splash of color from her artwork truly enlivened the space. "I brought cookies," Lily announced, presenting the bag. "Mom baked them. Peanut butter, your favorite." A playful glint sparked in Mr. Thompson's eyes. "Peanut butter, my downfall." "Thank you, Lily, how thoughtful." He selected a cookie with deliberate care, his hand exhibiting a slight tremor. "These smell absolutely heavenly." He offered her one, and they shared a comfortable stillness, savoring the treats. Lily's gaze drifted to a small, ornate box placed on the table, its swirling carving secured by a diminutive brass clasp. "What's that?" Lily inquired. Mr. Thompson paused, then revealed its contents, a collection of miniature wooden figures, animals, people, mythical beings. Each possessed astonishing detail, the artist's hand capturing their essence with minimal strokes. "These are exquisite." Lily breathed, examining a tiny owl. Its eyes seemed to hold ancient wisdom. "I crafted these years ago," Mr. Thompson shared, a thread of pride woven into his words. "When I worked as a carpenter, crafting toys for children, furniture for homes, it was fulfilling work." Lily's fingers traced the smooth curve of a diminutive wooden horse. "Why did you stop?" The smile lines around his eyes deepened with a different emotion. "Life shifts, Lily. It throws unforeseen obstacles in your path. Losing Martha, well, after that, I could no longer summon the spirit for it. The workshop felt hollow, the tools cumbersome." He sighed, a sound heavy with unspoken grief. Lily empathized. She understood the hollowness left by absence, the way joy could leach from everything. "Maybe, you could create something again," she ventured cautiously. "Perhaps just a small piece." Mr. Thompson's eyes met hers, revealing a complex tapestry of sorrow and something nascent, a fragile tendril of hope. "Perhaps," he conceded softly. "Perhaps you're right, Lily. Perhaps it's time." In the weeks that followed, Lily's visits became a cherished ritual. She regaled him with tales of school, friends, and the antics of her mischievous cat, Whiskers. He listened with patience, offering gentle encouragement and sage advice. In return, he unveiled stories of his past, of Martha, of his life as a craftsman. He demonstrated the function of his tools, his fingers instinctively finding their familiar contours. Though coated in dust, the glint of quality steel persisted beneath. One afternoon, Mr. Thompson greeted Lily at the door, a subtle smile gracing his features. He extended his hand, revealing a miniature wooden bird, vibrantly painted and intricately detailed. "This is for you, Lily," he announced. "A token of gratitude for your friendship." Lily gasped. The bird was exquisite, even surpassing the others in detail. It was a miniature marvel. "It's absolutely perfect," she exclaimed, accepting it with care. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson." As she journeyed homeward, cradling the bird, a profound realization dawned. Kindness wasn't a finite resource, it propagated. Offering Barnaby to Mr. Thompson had been an act of generosity, but it had triggered a cascade of goodwill, infusing their lives with hope. Mr. Thompson was not only less isolated but also reigniting his passion, his sense of purpose. And Lily. Lily was discovering a deeper form of contentment, one derived from enriching another's existence. Barnaby, nestled safely in her backpack, appeared to beam knowingly. It wasn't merely about possessing him anymore, it was about the values he embodied: generosity, camaraderie, and the unwavering belief that light persists even amidst darkness. The small wooden bird felt warm against Lily's palm, a tangible symbol of their blossoming bond and a promise of brighter days on the horizon.